You ever wonder how terrorist groups recruit? Well, in Al-Qaeda's case, by asking questions like this. Do you wish to execute a suicide mission? Or what objectives would you like to accomplish on your jihad path? Or who should we contact in case you become a martyr? How is that for a job application? And how is that for scary? Because all that's real. All those are actual questions. Among the treasure trove of documents the White House has dumped from that Osama bin Laden compound raid, actual job applications aimed at recruiting the very best or the very worst. To Mark Serrano and Kelly McEnany, who are both wondering, imagine what ISIS's application looks like. Kelly, can you imagine?
I can't imagine. You know, this is the most bizarre application I think I've ever seen. It almost looks like it's ripped from the satirical movie The Dictator. The questions are outlandish. What are your favorite hobbies or pastimes?
I like to blow up buildings, you know.
Do you prefer science or literature? I mean, this is what they would ask an elementary school teacher, not a terrorist. It's really bizarre.
What do you make?
Well, it's evil. This is, a twisted organization, and yet they're corporate in many ways. So this is where, evil and corporate meet. So can you imagine typical questions that would, answers that would disqualify you as an employee are actually an attribute for Al-Qaeda. So if you have a terminal illness, no problem, because you're going to have blown yourself up anyway. Right? If you have a forged passport, excellent. That's what we want to see. If you've served time in prison, terrific. You're qualified for this job.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, all those vices are virtues. You know what I wonder, too? I mean, we know that by terrorist standards, ISIS is so bad that Al-Qaeda is afraid of them. So I'm wondering what ISIS does to recruit, because ISIS has a lot more money. It did back then, and it does now.
Sure, and that's what's so frightening. You look at Al-Qaeda, they got most of their revenue from Osama bin Laden's family fortune or donations, compared to ISIS getting $3 million a day, according to, I believe, the New York Times or the Washington Post. I mean, this is a real corporate entity. It makes Al-Qaeda look foolish.
And they also get the creme de la creme, right, of that breed. Now, I'm wondering then what we do to stop that. I mean, if they've got job applications, and apparently people are signing up worldwide by the thousands, what are they doing? How are they doing it?
Social media. This is the difference with ISIS and why it's such a very serious threat, is they've been able to command digital media, social media to do the recruiting of young, very vulnerable people. And that's where the real threat exists.
But they're not using traditional sites, right? They're not using LinkedIn or whatever. I mean, what are they doing?
Twitter, though, and I think you make an excellent point, Mark. It is social media. They use social media better than some U.S. companies, which is why we see Western Europeans being pulled in, which is why we see Americans being pulled in, very high-minded, intellectual people.
And they've got to be so good at it. They're pulling in women.
Yes.
But they're also recruiting right now in the United States. And this is why it's such an insidious, disease-ridden threat, this evil that they're spreading around. They are recruiting teenagers in the United States right now.
And martyrs. They're big on martyrdom.
They're big on martyrdom, and, the biggest thing about ISIS is these are not wild men running around in the desert. These are sophisticated, intellectual, high-minded men who are being attracted to terrorism. It's very scary, and for Obama to call them JV, it's even more frightening, I think.
And, Mark, your point about bringing in the disgruntled and those who otherwise would never be able to pass a Walmart application test, those are all alluring to these groups.
Yeah, very alluring. It's kind of like online predators, right? They're looking for the isolated kid, in his or her bedroom that they can communicate with and lie to directly. And so they're using very sophisticated means. And really, it's interesting. Al-Qaeda has got this paper application you can fill in, yet ISIS does it online. They do it digitally, and they are succeeding.
And they're doing it openly.
It's not your father's terrorist network anymore.
All right. What do you say to that? I mean, if you want to join a terrorist group, there's an app for that. I mean, incredible. Guys, thank you.